Today you're going to be hearing about invoice templates, which is one of our newest features. However, you don't have to come to webinars to find out about our newest features. We try to update you in different ways apart from the webinar, which is also our quarterly emails that come from Robert, our CEO. And then the most like real-time updates that you can possibly get come actually from within the app. It's a little gift box icon on the bottom. That's the what's new button. It'll show you information. It'll link you out to help articles as well. And then on to today's topic, which is invoicing templates. We are going to be covering over in the agenda some best practices from Sam, who's one of our product managers here. He's also going to be talking about what's next in terms of other features that we're looking at when it comes to cash flow. And then at the end, we'll have the Q&A that'll be a combination of all three of us. I'm Eileen, VP of Customer Experience here at Monograph, and I also have Ashish, our Chief Product Officer in the room. All right, Sam, I think the stage is yours.
All right. Thank you, Eileen. And thank you everyone for joining us today. Really excited to have you here to talk about invoicing templates, our latest feature. So hope everyone has had their cup of coffee, their afternoon snack, and are ready to really dive in to learn about how this feature works, what it is, how to best take advantage of it, and how it can help you and your firm move forward and maximize your revenues. So first things first, just to outline it, we know that invoices need to be straightforward in order to effectively communicate information to clients about what's owed, why, and how they should pay for your services. So this underlying need led myself, Ashish, our design team, to investigate into how, what, why, and from that we developed out our invoicing template tool. So to get started with like how this really all came about, I want to just talk through really almost the feature development process here at Monograph, just to remind you all how we work here. So this is a multi-step process for any feature, and in this one we followed a lot of different processes here, and I'll talk through some of them. So first of all, I want to give a big thank you to everyone who has submitted feature requests. Those are sent to our teams from our support, CX, sales. They go into a centralized database, and we review every single one of those as a product team. That feedback was analyzed. We collated them across a series of dimensions for all invoicing elements. And from that, we worked into an internal brainstorm about how we can best consolidate these into a singular feature that addresses the needs that we know our firms have about how to customize their invoicing layouts best. This developed the basic requirements, some initial wireframes and concepts, but we needed to do more, and that went to our card sort exercise, where we had external consultants, external folks like yourself come in and tell us, hey, this information layout, might need to be adjusted. Here's how we think of these features, which led to the full design, and that was really where the rubber hit the road in terms of user testing. We had a series of 9 firms with where we had in-depth wireframe testing, where bookkeepers, people responsible for invoicing, like principals, actually clicked through the experience and told us, where we need to make adjustments, how it was working, what they liked, what they didn't, and what we need to do to make sure this was the most successful. So this is just a quick snapshot of the product development process here at Monograph, and we're really excited about really what came out of it for this this release. So what did we learn from this process? First and foremost, invoicing designs are repetitive. Most firms have really a standardized way in which they want their information to be displayed. We didn't necessarily accommodate all of those in the initial designer choices, but there were some pretty standardized elements that that needed to be accommodated within the invoice builder. The next thing we learned is that consistency is really important. When a new project is started, when the next invoice is created, it needs to repeat itself. It needs to have the same elements across from one project to another with the same client, from one invoice one month to the next month. And we wanted to make sure that there was limitations on the risk of inadvertent changes to what that standard layout should represent. And then last but certainly not least, and probably the most important one that came out of this research is that invoices are complex. There are so many elements that firms want control over, and we definitely want to explore all those options and make sure that we can accommodate them. But we also want to balance that with the needs of clients themselves, because the more control over the page, the more opportunity there is for clients to get confused about what it is that you're asking. The purpose of the invoice itself is really just to get paid, and we want to make sure that that goal is at the top of everything that we do here at Monograph when it comes to designing your invoices. So, how does it work? So there's a this is a three-step process, and we're going to go into it in full detail. I'm going to walk through a demo of the process of creating templates, editing them, applying them, etc. But it's a pretty simple process. You'll be asked to create a template. This can be from scratch, viewing all the design elements, customizing them, tweaking them as needed, and then saving them. Or you can do a quick start uh, if you are creating an invoice from a project that already has invoices in the past. You'll be prompted to be able to create an invoice from create a template, excuse me, from your last invoice. So all you have to do is just give a name to that template and hit save, and you'll be able to move on and move forward with that template. Uh, I've already moved into the second step, which is applying the invoice. The designer tab now is relatively simple. You select which template you would like to use, and it will apply. The details on the page do expand or contract. So, in your template, you might have hourly phases, consultants, retainers on there, but not every project has that, and only the elements and the data from your project will show on the invoice layout that is applied. And then last, continue. Now that you've set out your template, it's applied automatically in the future. And you can go ahead and edit that if needed for future invoices or create new ones if there are new permutations for clients that have extra needs. So that's it in a nutshell. But let's talk about the actual feature itself. So I'm going to go ahead and log into our showcase environment. This is a demo experience. And this experience is not a live environment. These aren't real projects, but it is representative of how this will work for your firm. So there are several ways to get started with invoicing templates. You can go into your settings and into templates to manage your experience here. But that being said, I do recommend not getting started with this until you are actually going to create an invoice, just because it doesn't make sense to have templates out there if you're not going to actually be applying them to an invoice. So working against an actual project is the best way to ensure that you are building your templates in a way that makes sense for your projects. So let's go ahead and do that. So we have several projects here that I've been working on. So here's an existing project I have, this hybrid house project. Now I have invoices in the past for this project. So and I have a draft here that I'm setting up. And in here, when I go over to the designer tab, I have now it no longer has the options here, but what it does have is templates. So I have two options here. I have the create template from last invoice, or I have create new invoice template. This is the starting from scratch option, this one at the bottom, this create new invoice template. But since I have a past invoice and I want to make sure this copies those settings, I can go ahead and click on this, and any customizations that I have chosen will remain here. So this is a demo environment, so these settings are pretty basic. This is actually just everything selected. But if I had things like not showing the previously build, that would have been disabled in this view, or if there was a time log, that would have also been included as well. So before I get into talk about the options here, I just like to talk a little bit about what this represents. So this page is mock data. So this doesn't represent a real project. This is a sample project from that we just created just to show all the possible permutations. And like I mentioned earlier, we do know that not all projects will have all of the elements on here. So, for example, not every project will have an hourly phase or a fixed fee phase or consultants or phase consultants. And we know that, and that's anticipated. But when you're building out your template, it's important to understand how the invoice might look. Were you to say sign an ad services agreement, and all of a sudden now you have a consultant that you didn't anticipate having at the beginning of the project, but now they're in there. And what would that look like in your template? So this is intended to get your imagination going about what invoicing might look like were you to have every single element on the page. So that's just a quick thing to note about what this might look like. And so let's walk through some of the settings that we now have control over. The first elements on the page is we call customization. This is broad brush elements of the page. So we have the logo element here. This is your firm's logo that you've set up at the organization level. If you replace it here, it will replace it across your organization. But this is just to remind you about where that's coming from. And if for whatever reason your firm needs to update its logo, say you do a rebrand, you can do it here in addition to within organization settings as needed. We also offer the ability to customize the section headers. So these headers here for fixed fee services, hourly services, we know not everyone structures these the same way. So in many cases, sometimes you structure your percent of construction costs as fixed fee phases within Monograph, and then you update what that fixed fee represents. So you may want to relabel this to say architecture services. And by doing so, you'll see it live update within the mock data to, again, represent what the data would look like in a project that included all of the data available. And then you have custom controls here for existing elements that you're familiar with for retainer summary, outstanding invoices, and then you can control footers per specific template. So if you have one for your government clients, for your residential clients, that just differs slightly in tone and content, you can go ahead and structure that here. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. The next section on the page is all of the individual sections here for, again, architecture services, which I relabeled from fixed fee. We have the hourly services, consultant services, and there's a few changes to what you may be used to from the past. So now we have separated out the show all elements for fixed fee or consultants. So before this was toggled together, now you can choose that independently. So if I don't want to show all of the phases that I may not be building for yet, you can toggle that off, but you can include all of the consultants or vice versa. You also have the ability to toggle off these columns individually. And you also have the ability to relabel what those columns read as. So in many cases, you may have firms, clients, excuse me, that expect to see a different word here for budget. So like contracted total. And when you update this, it will update again within the column itself to relabel what that data represents. The only two columns that you cannot turn off are budget and current due. Budget, because you are working against a contracted total, a budget for fixed fee totals, and we want that to be communicated to the client. It is the most effective way to ensure that clients are informed about the amount they owe, and then current due, obviously, because that's what's owed for the project. Last but certainly not least, we do have a new toggle here so that you can change between showing the percent complete or the inverse, which is the remaining dollars owed for the budget itself. And then I'm not going to go through the others in as detail, but important to note, they work largely the same with the important addition of the markup. So we used to not provide the ability to toggle on or off the display of markups included in your total. But now you can control whether or not the markup values are included in your budget. and or are communicated explicitly as a column within the invoice itself. And that control expands down to hourly services display and also your expenses, which again also has a ability to show a markup value. The last section is the time log. And we have heard from many firms that in additional control over what phases show within the time log itself. And we know that, when you're justifying certain values, oftentimes you only need to show the hourly phases themselves because those are billed based on the time logged. And so we now have the ability to control which phases themselves are included within the time log. And so you can toggle between all phases, this option at the top, hourly and fixed fee, or just hourly hourly phases, excuse me, themselves. And you can either accept, and again, just to remind everyone, we started with the create from last invoice. So you can go ahead and just click that, give it a name. This is our residential invoice template, and click save and move forward. Or you can go through all of these details. It's really up to you how fast you want to move through this, or whether you want to just invoice right away and then go back the next round and edit. It's just important to note that when you edit a template after you've saved it, those changes will only apply to future invoices. In a similar way in which today, once you open an invoice, it is locked. Invoice templates can be updated, but they don't apply retroactively to past invoices. So here is our residential invoice template. It could be my standard invoice template because my firm typically really just has one design and we structure it that way. Or maybe it's our standard with time log and our standard without time log. I recommend having, just a few invoice templates to start, and then as you move forward, listening to clients, understanding what you need to have to best reflect your what they need to understand on the invoice before going ahead and creating additional templates. And I think I clicked save already, so it is applying. All right, so we're going to apply that template. And my computer is running very slow. Our showcase environment is not the same as production. It is an internal system. And I do apologize. My system is not going as normal.
Sam, maybe do a hard refresh. I've sometimes seen some weirdness.
On Showcase, yeah, showcases are.
Yeah. Live demos are always tough.
Yeah. Now I could move over to my production account, but I don't want to do that right now.
Also, maybe while Sam refreshes the demo, Ashish and I have been answering questions. There's about 8 questions that have already been answered. If you're in the audience, you should have access to seeing them in the Q&A. So that might also reflect some of the questions that you had. And I also posted some articles as well where our internal guide is for the invoice templates.
Sam, since
Let me go over to my demo environment on production since.
Okay. There's a quick question that came in that since you just were talking about it. If you change the invoice template before you open the invoice, like while it's still in draft mode, does that change the invoice?
Absolutely. So I'm gonna do that here. So this
Okay,
this
cool.
this is a template applied to here. So this is our detailed invoice template. It is applied. Now I can go into that invoice template here and make some adjustments. So this is my detailed invoice template. So it has everything turned on, including my time log. But let's say that I actually don't want in my detailed invoice to include all of my phases. So I can go ahead and I can, all of the rows. So I can go ahead and turn those off, which again removes phases that I am not currently invoicing for. Clicking save. And now I can go ahead and refresh my view. And now the only phases that are showing up are those that have been previously billed or have a current due. And there are no consultants because I'm not billing for those consultants right now, but they were there before. And you can also switch between your invoice templates as well. So if you want to say, I we're partnering with our customer success and support team earlier, and a question that we received was, well, I like to see what the time log looks like on my invoice before I issue it, but I want to turn it off before I issue it. Well, there's an easy way to do that. You can have your template with time log and your template without time log. And by toggling between those as your template, you can view that information in that fashion. So that's how these templates are applied. You can view your templates through this link here. This includes a quick summary of what that template includes, or you can also highlight over them just to refresh your memory about how those templates are, what they're intended to communicate and design with. And then you can also open this in a separate tab to view what those templates are to access them. Now, if you're hoping to see all of your templates, you can go back to your invoice list, and under More, you'll have Manage Templates. And then, as I mentioned, in your settings, you can also access the list there as well. And I do apologize for the hiccup with our pre-live environment. Again, our demo system is exactly the same. So if you do have a demo firm on your account, feel free to try it out there. The templates are available as well in demo. So just a reminder, you can drop down from your top list to access the demo experience. And in here, it acts as a sandbox for you to try out different designs as well. And it has very similar data to what you see here for on my page. And that is largely the invoice template itself. The only small addition to add is that when you create a new invoice, you are prompted to apply a template or create a new one. So in this case, you do not have a past invoice to apply to it. So you'll have to either create a new one or use an existing one that you have available. Let's go back into the presentation. And I'm going to go ahead just to give a quick preview before we hop back into our Q&A about what we have coming up for more for invoicing. So coming soon, we've got a really hot feature that I know many of you will be very excited about. Currently, the billable hours experience is pretty fixed. Once you log time that is billable, that continues to grow for your projects. And as you invoice them, obviously, unbilled time decreases to 0, but not every time that is billable, that is logged, is able to be billed. And so we are building an experience for you to be able to write time off so that you can manage the amount of billable hours and billable dollars that you have on every project to ensure that every month you go into invoicing, the amount that is listed and unbilled represents the amount that should be billed for the next billing cycle. The next experience that we have for that we're excited to share with you for cash flow For those of you who use Monograph payments, we're really excited about what we're cooking up with Stripe, our payments partner. We are currently in works to improve the speed of payouts to make sure that your money hits your bank account as quickly as possible. And we are also exploring additional offerings that they provide, such as financial access to financing through their capital arm to ensure that you can grow your business and expand without feeling constrained by current operating cash flow. And then last but certainly not least, we know that what you build on your side is only one part of the equation. We are hoping to improve the client experience as well. So improving billing contacts, setting up multiple individuals at your client for say who gets the bill, who's the primary contact for project communications, et cetera, to really just streamline the process of coordinating with your clients themselves. And then also support flows. So your invoicing itself, once you open it, it is locked, but we know that clients always want things changed. And today it's not necessarily the easiest process to do so. So we're exploring ways in which we can sustainably and responsibly allow you to edit your invoices with the client's understanding. So those are just a quick sneak peek of what we are exploring and developing, and we have a lot more in the hopper. As I mentioned, your feature requests are truly invaluable to help us understand, what it is that you need from Monograph to be as successful as possible. And so, please keep reaching out to us. We do read those feature requests, and we do listen and try to accommodate them. So please let us know how to best serve you, and we'll prioritize them in our roadmap as we can. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to Eileen to transition us over to the Q&A.
Awesome, Sam. Thank you so much for the presentation. Live demos are always hard. Everyone here has done studio and they know what it's like when the printer is not plotting and you're due to pin up in a handful of minutes. It's always stressful, so all good. A couple of things. I know Ashish has flagged a series of questions that he wants to answer live. I also went ahead and answered a couple of them, but just so everyone knows, we love feature requests. We love when you give us feedback. The best way, the fastest way to do that is directly in the app is the chat bubble. The same chat bubble that you use to speak with our support team has an option for sending feedback. We take all of that, we painstakingly categorize it. And these two gentlemen here on the screen with me, along with the rest of our product team, review this consistently. So it doesn't just go into the void. We do read all of it. And also, there are times when you might send, especially with invoicing, if there's something specific that you want to see. I know someone asked in the questions about like, oh, I would like to see a layout that does this, like that has like the edges like bleed on the footer. Send us an example of either what you've used in the past, because we've also taken those examples and those PDFs was part of the research that Sam, like used when we were determining like what should we include, what's common practice and whatnot. So definitely send us images as well. Those are very helpful for us to have. I think on that note, I'm just gonna scroll up to the top. I'm gonna flag. Let's see the first one that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah,
Which is coming from Renee.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
No, yeah, because there were a couple people that asked this similar question. So
yeah, go for it.
So the first one was about displaying max cap for hourly or not to exceed. And basically the question, I mean, I can tell you it isn't currently available, but I think it's a good idea and one that we'll definitely take. But Sam, if you had anything else to add to that.
No, I love that idea, and yeah, we'll have to explore how to best add it in.
And just like as Eileen mentioned, like, obviously with all of this, we have to put some constraints and, we also want to continue to improve and get feedback. So as you guys are providing this feedback, it helps us decide, what are the most important things to address first. And so that I think was a couple, and there was also a fun one around a lot of good hourly questions, showing the employee name versus the role, Sam.
Yeah, that has come up a couple times, and we have heard this. It isn't in our immediate roadmap, similar to what was just mentioned around the max hours. But these are ideas. This template is not set in stone. Let's just say that this is a start, and it is a transition from an invoice with, I think we had like 5 or 6 controls to a lot more. And so as we continue to evolve the templates, it's gonna take some time, but we do know that this tool is just a start to accommodate more and more definitions of what, excuse me, more and more control over what displays to your clients.
Awesome.
Awesome.
I have one more, Eileen, sorry. And then the just to clarify, you mentioned editing a template. There was a comment here that once a template's been used on an invoice, they saw that they weren't able to edit it. Is that true? And just to clarify that. Like if you need to make a tweak to a template after it's been used on an invoice.
Yeah, my understanding, and I will confirm this with the team, is that we do allow it to be edited once it has been used to an open invoice, but we'll confirm that. The system is designed in such a way to support that capability. So if it's not functioning, we can make adjustments. This feature is new, and we know that there's going to be some teething pains, and we do know that there's going to be some hiccups along the way, but we want to make sure that this works, and so we'll look into that and make sure that you can make modifications, because we don't want this list to continue to grow. We want to make sure that like your template list is tight, coordinate corresponds to invoices that you have created and that you will continue to use. One thing to note, though, if you do have invoice templates that you no longer need, let's say a client wanted a very specific template, and now that client, the project's done and you can move forward, you can archive templates as well so that they're no longer in your list of templates for available to use, and you can keep that list curated, focused, and usable.
Yeah, that came up. We already answered that one too, so that's good.
Yeah, awesome. Sam, I have two that maybe you might have to share your screen for, but I think they're great ones. So I have one question about, can you show how not, or I guess how to and how not to include consultant fees on the invoice again? And then there's a second question from Andrew, who's curious about the option for the larger like fonts, or just highlighting more visibly the amount that is owed. I like that Andrew's trying to collect the money. I like where your mind's at, Andrew. Put that number front and center. So Sam, if you could show a little bit of those, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Give me just one moment. I need to pull back up my screen. All right. So the first question, which was around, let me just make sure I got them. So the first one is around the highlighting the total owed, and the second one, or maybe I'm doing them in reverse order, but I'll address them both. First one was in the total owed at the top of the page, and then the second one was about consultant fees, how to control the displays of those. Cool.
Yeah.
Great. So let's go into that. So I'm going to go into one of my templates. Let's go into my detailed. So there's a note here. We did change the display of the header line here, where we wanted to. We heard loud and clear from firms that invoices should be as minimal as possible. The more space on the page, the more opportunity there is for people to get lost, or the page to blow out to a million different versions. So we trimmed it to only offer the compact layout, which is what you see here, this line here. The total due, it's right here on the right here on the right. This is what's owed, and I strongly encourage to direct your clients to that. And then also just at the bottom, there is an invoice total as well. This will be right below everything, all the tables of the justification data as well. So bookending the body is the header, which has it's the compact header. So it has invoice number and total due, framing it, as well as the invoice total down at the bottom. So the other question, which was around consultant displays. So there are several controls here that are important to mention. So first and foremost, you can control whether or not you want to display all consultants or just the consultants that have been billed or are currently being billed. So if this is off, only those that have had a cost in the past, so you paid something about earlier, or a cost in the future or current due, will be shown on the invoice. When I go ahead and toggle that on, additional consultants will display within the experience. So that's the first control that we have within the consultant experience. The next line item that we have, or next control that we have, is for phase consultants. So those of you who use phase consultants know that this is nothing. This is an existing experience that we have, and this controls essentially where those phase consultants show up. So you can have phase consultants grouped with project consultants. So that's what you see here with this MEP engineer and this geotechnical engineer. It just outlines what phase those consultants apply to. However, you can also itemize them by the phase in which they actually are applying to. So here I have adjusted it, and now my MEP consultant is with my hourly services because they're applying to an hourly phase, or they are in my fixed fee phase. So they're up here with the geotechnical engineer section. And what this specifies is who completes the activity. So in this case, this is the firm name, and then this is the consultant themselves that you're applying. And then last, for the control, you can also hide phase consultants. So this means that any phase consultant that's in a fixed fee phase, well, that budget is just added to your budget. And so now when you have an owed amount, it is applied within the phase itself. And then, as mentioned, there are column controls, just like every other section, where you can toggle them on or off, relabel, and also control the markups, whether or not those show. And hopefully that answered the question around how to show consultant fees.
Yes, that's it. I spotted another one that while you're here, it'll be great to answer, which is in terms of project phases. I'm assuming this question is about fixed fee phases, and if there's a way to just like hide any phases inactive. So if you're not billing for that phase, like how can you hide it from view?
So we have a conscious decision to not hide phases that have been billed for if they are inactive. Let's say, in the past you've billed for, the schematic design phase and you're in construction already. So you're like, why do I need to show that anymore? Well, there's a very important reason, which is your budget and what's been, and I'm going to unhide those just for ease. The reason for that is your project has a total budget, your client has paid a certain amount, and that all adds up. And we want to make sure that, if you are tracking towards a completion in terms of what's been owed, what has been billed prior, showing that on the invoice is a key way to ensure that there's no confusion whatsoever. For context, I actually have been doing some research with clients themselves, and one of the most common concerns that we've heard from clients is that they don't, and these aren't Monograph firms, so I'm not going to say anything about that, but they've been working with some firms, and the firms themselves don't know what's been paid in the past on past phases. And that information is critical to ensure that like your client knows what they paid, what's remaining, and how far along they are within their project itself. So it's a very important thing to show past phases for that exact reason, to just make sure there's clarity in terms of what's been done.
Awesome, thank you. I'm going through the questions just so everyone knows. There's a couple of questions here that my answer to them might be like, please send us like what you're seeing on your end. As Sam alluded to, like, it is, we ran a beta, we thought it was very good, we had a lot of feedback, but of course, once a feature goes out into the wild, there's always going to be tiny little edge cases that we will polish up as quickly as we hear about them. So if you are running into something that you don't think is quite right, I saw one that was like, oh, like these lines aren't like aligning properly in the totals. Just again, reach out to the support team, let us know either which project or send us a PDF so we can look into it right away. Sam, there is a lot of question. I think I've caught maybe 3 questions. There's about 18 open questions, so I'm trying to scan them all. But there's excitement for hearing a little bit more about when the ability to like write off time might be coming live, when that might be, nearest. And then there's also some questions about, is there a future where there might be ways to customize the design of the template, not just like the layout. So whether it's a couple branding colors, fonts, or being able to upload a specific layout.
Absolutely. So let's start off with the writing off time element. I'm actually going to stop sharing because go back into it if we need to. So for writing off time, I am really excited to share that we are in QA of that feature right now. My engineering team is fixing up bugs. We do a lot of testing internally before we even release to a limited audience in beta. As Eileen mentioned, we like to do that when it relates to money, just to be absolutely certain that things are working as expected before they roll out to all. So like I said, we're in QA. That's the first step of our testing process. We then do another round of testing with our wider team. Eileen's team likes to get involved with that to make sure that they understand the feature, and also they can trip us up to understand, because since they're talking with you folks like you every day and know where the pitfalls lie. And then after that, we then will go to a beta and then a wider release. So I don't have an exact timeline on when that'll happen, but just to share that we are in the first part of our pre-launch preparations.
I wanted to just say a few things that are a little spicy, and so I'm allowed to do it. Okay, so there are a ton of questions, which I get, about the PDF and rows lining up and customization and things like that, as well as like things being due and making sure people are paying the right amount, all that stuff. I would strongly suggest 2 things. One, you consider the web view of an invoice as the primary way that people are actually looking at it. Your clients are clicking through on an email, they're landing on a web page. It's a view. There's no pages. There's no there's no concept of orphans and any of that stuff, right? PDFs are a little messy. I get that, for many years we've used PDFs as kind of the primary way of thinking about an invoice, but in kind of a more modern world. And again, I know this is spicy, so and some of your clients maybe don't think this way, but that is the way to think about it. And so like all this kind of minor alignment things and stuff are not actually or well, I shouldn't say aren't a big deal, but I think become less of an issue. And the second,
Add to that also, Ashish, if I can jump in, I mentioned in the preview of things to come, elements of like collaborating with your clients and showing a statement of accounts, things like that. All of that's only possible within a web view itself as well. So by moving clients to understand that the web page is the expected view for invoices, it'll also streamline all of your relationships as well with your clients in addition.
And then, yeah, exactly. And the second thing I was going to say there is, for those of you that haven't, we'd strongly recommend you enable electronic payment, because then they can't accidentally pay the wrong amount. They don't even have to read this thing. They just click on a button and it tells them this is how much you pay, and you just pay it. And those are our customers that have done all those things. They get paid really fast. They get paid the right amounts. There's no kind of wrong things there, and they also see all the things that all the outstanding invoices. So just a little bit of a soapbox for just a second there. This isn't self-serving. We've seen that those are our customers that do these things, just get paid really fast. And I think that is really important. Hopefully you spend a lot less time editing, tweaking, messing with your invoice, because we know you guys have a lot more important things to be doing in your day than worrying about the format of an invoice. So that's also why we hope these templates are kind of a one-time, you do it and then never think about it again. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of throw that in there, but we can jump back into other questions.
Yeah, because I know there was another question that Eileen raised about like the design, like the more aesthetics of the invoice itself. And Eileen and I actually were chatting about this earlier, and I'm gonna use the metaphor.
Our wedding analogy.
Yeah, I think it's a really good one. Eileen came up with a good way to think about how we think about invoices, which is your firm is you're design professionals, like, and we understand that you're the pros in this regard. Like you're you're making these structures, these elements happen, and you're building the design the landscape. And we don't want to get in the way of that. But at the same time, your billing documents are legal. I mean, they are telling your client how much they owe, why, and how much they should pay. And the metaphor that Eileen came up with, which is like, okay, when you're planning a wedding, you have, all the different design elements. You can, customize the font on your invitation, and you have your table decorations, your place settings, etc. All of that is incredibly customized and incredibly personal. But then when it comes time to, go to the courthouse and sign your document, it's a pretty standard form that you encounter. And obviously there's some tweaks here and there depending on what jurisdiction you're in, but they are really transferable across wherever you go. So in that sense, we really view the invoices as that kind of legal document itself. It is a pretty standard thing, and that's not to say that we will never go down the route of performing more aesthetic control over it, because we know that that is important, and we want to do that. But we are prioritizing the things that were mentioned earlier, like putting your max cap hours on your hourly fees, or adjusting what displays for whether it's the role or the individual within the invoice itself, because these are the things that ensure that your client pays you on time and in full, as much as possible, so that you can keep doing what you do with the creative work, and to keep your firm to provide services for your clients.
There's the true behind the scenes of how we think about. I'm like, it's like a wedding invitation. You got your marriage certificate, your wedding invitation. You can really customize
Really liked
the
it. I
wedding
thought it was
invite.
great.
Not so much the marriage certificate. But yes, thanks, Sam, for sharing that perspective. Yes, I think one thing you'll see, and part of why we do these webinars, is we also want to have transparency on like the rationale of like why we do certain decisions, and why maybe we're like a little stubborn with staying on a specific, point, or why certain things maybe aren't as flexible. We study this across a lot of different accounts. We collect feedback, and ultimately we're hoping that, our mission is to make life easier for you in running a firm. So I do appreciate all the questions that we've answered, almost 40 questions. There's still about 17 that are open. A lot of these I haven't been able to answer, but if you send something again that maybe is like a unique experience, or you're seeing something that feels strange, or it may be a specific project, please send that over to the support team. We can troubleshoot directly with the specific project and the specific invoice better than we're able to troubleshoot on that live. And I know we're a little bit over, so maybe now is a good time to end, unless there's any final thoughts from Sam and Ashish. Anything else you want to share?
I would just say, like, we do appreciate that, we made some changes, fairly significant changes to your workflow, and we definitely realize that. But we're hoping that like I mentioned earlier, once you've done this once, or a few times, or once per client, or whatever, then you really don't have to repeat a lot of the kind of repetitive work you were doing before. So overall, we believe that this will be a lot faster, and this will allow us to automate more of your flows. So yeah, and we appreciate you all coming here and taking your time to ask these questions, give feedback, and we'll have a list of these questions, and so especially people that have asked very specific things about their own setup, we will follow up with you shortly.
Awesome. Thank you, Maureen, for saying I love it. We appreciate it. It's a good way to end. All right, everyone. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you guys probably on the next webinar in probably a couple weeks. So talk soon. Bye.